I was uninvited from Easter because I always make drama. 3 weeks later, their bills were the ones being dramatic. My name is Eleanor Harrison, though most people call me Ellie. I'm 68 years old, and I live in a quiet, sun-soaked neighborhood in Sarasota, Florida. The kind of place where retirees are supposed to enjoy their golden years walking along the beach, gardening, and drinking coffee on porches while the world slows down. Instead, on Easter Sunday morning, I was sitting alone in my kitchen, holding my phone, reading the most devastating text message I'd ever received. Mom, we've decided Easter is immediate family only. You always create tension, and we need one peaceful holiday. It was from my daughter, Linda. I read it once, then again, then a third time, as if some hidden meaning might appear if I stared at it hard enough. Immediate family only. I was her mother. I'd given birth to her, stayed up all night when she had the flu as a child, helped her with science fair projects, held her when she cried over boys who didn't deserve her, walked her down the aisle at her wedding when her father was stuck at work, supported her emotionally, physically, and most recently, financially. How was I not immediate family? In my other hand, I held a small white receipt from the bank that had printed automatically that morning from my little home printer. It was my monthly transfer confirmation. The deposit had gone through, right on schedule. $4,200 transferred to Linda Beck. The same money that would help fund their big, peaceful Easter dinner. The same dinner I was officially banned from attending. The irony hit me so hard, I almost laughed, and then almost cried. They wanted a holiday without me, but they had no problem celebrating with my money. What they didn't know was that their drama-free holiday was about to become very, very expensive. Because after 8 months of being a grieving widow, after 8 months of swallowing every insult, absorbing every slight, and funding every demand just to feel connected to my family, I was about to discover something that would change everything. By the time I was done, they would understand exactly how much my drama was worth. Not just the $4,200 that left my account every month, but the $180,000 I'd used to help buy their dream house, the private school education I'd been paying for, the emergencies I'd covered, the vacations I'd quietly funded, their entire lifestyle built on a foundation they assumed would last forever. Me. But to really understand what happened, I need to go back, not to Easter, not to the text message, but to who I was before I became the family ATM. Before we continue, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe if you like stories like mine. Now, let me tell you who I really am, because my family seemed to forget. My full name is Eleanor Marie Harrison. I'm 68, widowed, and I live in a cozy little ranch house in Sarasota. We moved here 15 years ago, my late husband Robert and I, when he retired from his engineering firm. We'd worked hard all our lives and chose this place specifically because it felt peaceful, safe, and warm, the sort of place where you imagine growing old together. For 35 years, I was a school principal in Sarasota County. I wasn't the kind of principal students whispered about in fear, but I also wasn't a pushover. I believed in structure, kindness, and consequences. I prided myself on being fair but firm, with both kids and parents. Nobody pushed me around at school. Nobody walked all over me professionally. Funny thing is, I enforced boundaries with strangers every single day and somehow forgot every lesson I'd ever learned when it came to my own family. Robert and I had been married for 45 years. He was patient where I was fiery, thoughtful where I rushed, and he had this warm, deep laugh that could turn a miserable day into a decent one. We had plans, real plans, not just vague retirement dreams. We were going to travel, river cruises through Germany and Austria, a trip to Ireland to explore his family roots, weekend getaways, little adventures. You know what ended up happening instead? We spent our retirement savings on cancer treatments and hospital parking fees, and I spent those same years watching our daughter's family sink deeper and deeper into financial stress. When Robert was first diagnosed, Linda and her husband Marcus were already stretched thin. They had just bought what they called their dream house in Tampa. 4 bedrooms, updated kitchen, nice neighborhood, good schools. They were so proud of it. But pride doesn't pay mortgages. Between the monthly payments, bills, their 2 teenagers' activities, and Marcus's inconsistent income from his construction business, they were struggling, barely keeping their heads above water. That's when I stepped in. Like any loving mother, at least in my mind, that's what you do. You help. I provided the $180,000 down payment for their house. We drew up paperwork with an attorney. On paper, that down payment gave me 60% equity ownership in the property. It was all very official. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I didn't imagine it would matter. I just wanted my daughter's family to feel secure. When we signed the documents, Linda cried and hugged me. "Mom, you're saving our future," she said. I felt proud, needed, useful. I had no idea that one day that same house would become a battleground. As Robert's cancer treatments dragged from months into years, the medical bills piled up. Chemotherapy, surgeries, hospital stays, medications with names I couldn't pronounce, and price tags that made me want to faint. But while I was juggling all of that, Linda called me sobbing one night. "Mom, we might lose the house. We're behind. Marcus's work is slow, and we just can't keep up." I remember sitting on the edge of my bed with the phone pressed against my cheek, listening to her cry, and something inside me broke. This wasn't just about money. It was about security, about my grandchildren having a stable home, about Linda not having to uproot her family just when her father was fighting for his life. So I made what I thought was a temporary decision. I set up an automatic monthly transfer, a little over $4,000 every month. The idea was simple. It would help them cover their mortgage and bills just for a little while, just until Robert finished treatment, just until Marcus got more work, just until they got back on their feet. I didn't want them to have to ask every time. I didn't want Linda to feel embarrassed, so I told my bank manager, Susan, just set it and forget it. That's what we did. And like most things you set and forget, it quietly became permanent without anyone actually deciding it should be. When Robert passed away 8 months ago, we were both emotionally and financially exhausted. I assumed, naively, that this would be when things changed. I thought the monthly financial support would wind down, or at least be discussed. Instead, the opposite happened. The requests increased. Shortly after the funeral, Linda called me. Her voice was soft, the way it always got when she was about to ask for something big. "Mom, the kids, they need stability right now. With Dad gone, it's been hard on them. Taking them out of Westfield Academy would be one more big change." Westfield Academy, the private school I'd been paying for. "Mom, the tuition, we just can't manage it right now, not with everything going on." So I kept paying, $1,500 per child per semester, for Sophia and Ryan. "You're giving them opportunities, Mom. You're investing in their future." And that sounded noble, grandmotherly, loving. So I kept going. The monthly transfers kept flowing, the school bills got paid, the emergencies popped up like clockwork, car repairs that just couldn't wait, dental work when Marcus cracked a tooth, sports programs, school trips. "Mom, Sophia's friends are going to Cancun for spring break. She'll be devastated if she's the only one who can't go." That one was nearly $2,800. I didn't argue. I just typed my password into the banking app and hit transfer. Somewhere along the way, my support stopped being a lifeline and became an expectation. And I never asked myself the most obvious question of all. Am I being treated with the respect and love my generosity deserves? Instead, I did something else. I clung to them. Because after Robert died, those family dinners, those occasional Sunday gatherings, those school events, they were my lifeline. The house was too quiet. His voice was gone. His toothbrush sat untouched. His slippers still waited by the bed. Grief isn't just sadness, it's disorientation. It's waking up in a world that looks the same but feels completely wrong. So when Linda invited me over for Sunday dinner, I'd put on lipstick, bring a dessert, and show up early. Not because I was excited about the food, but because I wanted to hear my grandchildren laugh. I wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere again. When Ryan had basketball games, I'd sit proudly on the bleachers at Westfield Academy, the school I was paying for, and cheer like the most enthusiastic grandmother on earth. When Ryan had piano recitals, I'd dress up as if I were going to the theater. Those moments made me feel like I still had a role, like I still mattered. What I didn't realize was that I was paying for that feeling, literally. My inclusion was quietly tied to the wires going out of my bank account. I was their loving grandmother, yes, but I was also increasingly their silent financial partner, present when needed, invisible when not. The warning signs were there, like hairline cracks in a wall that you ignore until suddenly the whole thing collapses. It started with small exclusions, tiny, easy-to-dismiss moments. One day, Ryan made varsity basketball at Westfield Academy. I was thrilled. I asked Linda, "Do you have the schedule? I'd love to come to the playoff games." She paused. Just a second too long. "Oh, those are mostly for parents, Mom. You know how schools are. It's really a parent thing." A parent thing, as if the woman paying her school tuition counted as family enough to sit in the bleachers. I swallowed the sting, and later that week transferred an extra $300 for his team gear, without being asked, because that's what I'd trained myself to do: swallow pain, send money. Marcus, my son-in-law, started making his own little comments. We'd be at a family dinner, one I'd paid for, in the house I'd helped fund, and if I mentioned how quiet the house felt without Robert, or how lonely the evenings were, Marcus would mutter, "Old people need so much attention," or "maybe space is healthier for everyone." Space, that word became their favorite tool. When I called to check on the kids, "Mom, we need space to handle our own problems." When I tried bringing up money, "Can we have space from family business talk right now? It's stressful." When I opened up about my grief, "You really need space to process that privately, Mom." They wanted space from my feelings, from my presence, from my grief, but not from my money. Strangely, space never applied to bank transfers. Those were always welcome, always needed, always urgent. The financial requests escalated too. The spring break trip, the dental emergency, the new tires for Marcus's truck, Sophia's sports fees. Every request came wrapped in urgency and unspoken guilt. If you say no, you're letting the kids down. If you say no, you're choosing your money over your family. If you say no, you're proving you don't love it. I was uninvited from Easter because I always make drama. 3 weeks later, their bills were the ones being dramatic. My name is Eleanor Harrison, though most people call me Ellie. I'm 68 years old, and I live in a quiet, sun-soaked neighborhood in Sarasota, Florida. The kind of place where retirees are supposed to enjoy their golden years walking along the beach, gardening, and drinking coffee on porches while the world slows down. Instead, on Easter Sunday morning, I was sitting alone in my kitchen, holding my phone, reading the most devastating text message I'd ever received. "Mom, we've decided Easter is immediate family only. You always create tension, and we need one peaceful holiday." It was from my daughter, Linda. I read it once, then again, Then a third time, as if some hidden meaning might appear if I stared at it hard enough. Immediate family only. I was her mother. I'd given birth to her, stayed up all night when she had the flu as a child, helped her with science fair projects, held her when she cried over boys who didn't deserve her, walked her down the aisle at her wedding when her father was stuck at work, supported her emotionally, physically, and most recently, financially. How was I not immediate family? In my other hand, I held a small white receipt from the bank that had printed automatically that morning from my little home printer. It was my monthly transfer confirmation. The deposit had gone through, right on schedule. $4,200 transferred to Linda Beck. The same money that would help fund their big, peaceful Easter dinner, the same dinner I was officially banned from attending. The irony hit me so hard, I almost laughed and then almost cried. They wanted a holiday without me, but they had no problem celebrating with my money. What they didn't know was that their drama-free holiday was about to become very, very expensive. Because after 8 months of being a grieving widow, after 8 months of swallowing every insult, absorbing every slight, and funding every demand just to feel connected to my family, I was about to discover something that would change everything. By the time I was done, they would understand exactly how much my drama was worth. Not just the $4,200 that left my account every month, but the $180,000 I'd used to help buy their dream house, the private school education I'd been paying for. In bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the messages in my mind over and over. Part of me wanted to believe there was some context I was missing. Maybe they were drunk. Maybe they were joking. Maybe this was some weird venting session and they didn't really mean it. But the words were too specific, too casual, too honest. This wasn't a one-time flare of anger. This was how they truly saw me, the needy, dramatic, hovering, depressing old woman who happened to fund their life. Easter morning arrived. The birds sang, the sun shone. Somewhere in Tampa, my daughter's family dressed up, took photos, and sat around a table I had probably helped pay for. I stayed home. I made Robert's coconut cake anyway. I set 2 plates, one for me, one for the memory of him. I poured myself a cup of coffee, cut a slice, and whispered, "Happy Easter, darling," to the empty chair. And then I realized something. A small, quiet truth that grew louder the more I repeated it in my head. I don't have to keep doing this. I didn't have to keep funding people who openly despised my presence. I didn't have to bankroll my own heartbreak. I didn't have to pay for the privilege of being treated like garbage. If they wanted space, I could give it to them. Real space. Space between them and my money. Because if I wasn't family enough for their Easter table, my money shouldn't be family enough for their monthly budget. The next few days were a blur of hurt, anger, and something else. Something I hadn't felt in months. Resolve. On Tuesday, my neighbor Rose knocked on my back door. Rose is 71, a retired nurse with a no-nonsense tone and a soft heart. She'd been checking on me since Robert died, bringing over soup, offering rides, and making sure I didn't disappear into my grief. When she saw me sitting on the porch in my robe at 10 a.m., staring blankly into space, she sat down beside me. "You look like you've been hit by a truck," she said gently. "What happened?" So I told her. All of it. The Easter text, the group chat messages, the comments, the money. Every humiliating detail. Rose listened, her mouth tightening, her brows lowering further with each part of the story. When I finished, she squeezed my hand. Eleanor Harrison, that is not family behavior, she said. That is financial abuse wrapped in guilt and dressed up as family. They're all I have, I whispered. They're not acting like all you have, she said firmly. They're acting like you're all they have, financially. Emotionally, they couldn't care less. She looked me right in the eyes. People who wish you disappear while cashing your checks, that's not family, honey. That's exploitation. Her words hit like a slap and a hug at the same time. Painful, necessary. Rose helped me see something clearly. They didn't want me. They wanted what I provided. And I had been mistaking their dependence for love. On Wednesday, I made an important phone call. Not to Linda, to James Chen, our family attorney. James had helped Robert and me with our estate planning years before. He'd also drafted the equity agreement when I put down the $180,000 down payment on Linda's house. James, I need to understand my legal position regarding the support I'm giving Linda and Marcus, I said. He pulled up my file. Well, Eleanor, he said, your $180,000 down payment clearly gives you a 60% ownership stake in the property. As for the monthly transfers, there's no formal obligation anywhere. Those are considered gifts, voluntary. Voluntary, I repeated slowly. Yes, there's no contract stating you must continue them. You can stop at any time, he said. The house is legally partly yours. The ongoing support is not. If I stop the monthly transfers, what happens? Legally, nothing to you, he said. To them, well, they'd have to live on their income, not yours. That word, voluntary, echoed in my mind the rest of the day. For months, I'd acted like their survival depended on me, when in reality, I had simply volunteered to carry a load they should have been helping with. James then connected me with my bank manager, Susan. We sat down in her office the next day. She pulled up my account on her screen. Mrs. Harrison, here's the pattern of transfers to your daughter's account, she said. She turned the monitor slightly so I could see. There it was, month after month after month, $4,200 going out like clockwork. This represents roughly 70% of their apparent monthly cash flow, she said. Based on how their account behaves, I'd estimate they're relying heavily on your transfer to keep everything afloat. 70%? I repeated. I wasn't just helping. I was the foundation. What happens if I stop it? I asked. In the short term, they'll struggle immediately. Within a couple of weeks, they'll start missing obligations, credit cards, tuition payments, possibly their mortgage. They've built a lifestyle on a level of income that doesn't reflect their real earnings. And I'm allowed to just cancel it? She looked me kindly. It's your money, Mrs. Harrison. You're not breaking any rule by choosing to keep it. That night, I sat in Robert's old armchair and stared at our wedding picture. What would you think of this, Robert? I asked out loud. Would he want me to keep pouring our hard-earned savings into people who openly rolled their eyes at my grief? Would he want the money he left behind used for beach trips and designer jeans, or for the dreams we'd once had together? We both knew the answer. Thursday morning, I called James. I said, my answer is yes. I want to stop all financial support. All of it? He asked. All of it, I said. The monthly transfers, the guarantees on their credit cards and car loans, everything. He paused for a moment. All right, he said. We'll proceed. We went over the details. Stop the automatic transfers, send formal notice to remove me as a guarantor on their credit cards and car loans, monitor their mortgage payments in case they default. The ball was in motion. That afternoon, I drove to the bank and signed the paperwork with Susan to cancel the automatic transfers. The moment the pen left the paper, something loosened in my chest. I walked back to my car feeling 10 pounds lighter. Not financially, emotionally. I wasn't trapped anymore. I wasn't a hostage to their approval. I wasn't paying to feel like I mattered. That same evening, I did something that honored both Robert and myself. I called a travel agency. "Yes, I'd like to book a Rhine River cruise," I said, my heart pounding a little bit. 2 weeks in Germany and Austria, just like we'd always talked about. The agent gave me the price. About $6,000, less than 2 months of what I'd been giving Linda. I paid the deposit on the spot. This time, the money would buy me something real. Memories, experiences, new friendships, not just temporary goodwill from people who resented me. The first week after canceling everything was quiet. No calls from Linda, no urgent texts asking for help, no "Mom, can you" messages. My phone, for the first time in a long time, was mine. I went grocery shopping and only thought about my budget. I bought a bouquet of fresh flowers and didn't feel guilty. I spent money on ingredients to make myself nice dinners. I even signed up for a book club at the library and a volunteer literacy program helping adults learn to read. It was the first time my time and money were going towards something that didn't involve saving Linda from her own choices. Of course, I knew it couldn't last. Their finances were built on the illusion of my endless support. Illusions have expiration dates. Theirs came 2 weeks later. On a Tuesday morning in early May, my phone finally rang. Linda flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. On the 4th try, I answered. "Hello?" "Mom, thank God," she said, sounding frantic. "Something's wrong with our accounts. The school called about unpaid tuition, our mortgage is due, and my card got declined at the grocery store. Did something happen with the bank? Is there a glitch?" "No glitch," I said calmly. "I canceled the transfers." Silence. "What do you mean you canceled them?" she asked. "I mean I've stopped sending you money. All of it. The monthly support, the tuition, the extras. It's over." She let out a nervous little laugh. "Mom, be serious. You can't just stop. We depend on that." "I know you do," I said. "That's the problem." "What's that supposed to mean?" she snapped. "It means you depend on my money but treat me like a burden. It means you celebrated my absence at Easter while planning how to spend my transfer. It means the support is gone now." Silence again. "How do you know about Easter?" she whispered. "Your iPad, Linda. You left it here, remember? I saw the group chat. I read everything." Her breathing changed, faster, shallower. "Mom, we were just venting. Families vent. You're not supposed to read private messages." "Families vent about normal annoyances," I said. "They don't call their grieving mother dramatic, say holidays are better without her, and discuss using her money to fund vacations." "We didn't mean it like that," she said. "We were just stressed." "You meant it exactly like that," I said softly. "You felt safe saying those things because you assumed I would never find out, and even if I did, you figured I'd keep paying anyway." "Mom, please, this isn't the time to make a point. The kids' school is calling. We can't lose the house. Marcus's business is slow. We need you right now." "No," I said. "You need a wake-up call. You told me you wanted Easter to be immediate family only. Well, immediate family can fund itself." She started crying. "You're punishing us," she accused. "I'm protecting myself," I replied. She hung up. 20 minutes later, James called. "Eleanor, what the hell is going on?" he snapped. "Linda's hysterical. The school says tuition is overdue, the credit cards aren't working right, and now I hear you've cut off the transfers?" "Yes," I said. "I have." "You can't just abandon your family over some text messages." "I am not abandoning anyone. I am simply ceasing to support a group of people who told each other holidays are better without me." You read our private chat? He demanded. You're focusing on the wrong part. I called needy, you said you wanted me to back off permanently, you all agreed my grief was drama, and then you counted on my money hitting your account anyway. He scoffed. So what, this is revenge? No, I said, this is reality. You wanted space, you've got it, financial space included. This is insane, he said. You can't do this to the kids. They'll have to leave school, their lives will be destroyed. No, I said, their lives will go on, just not at the price of mine. He hung up too. The real fallout started the following week. Their credit cards, once padded by my excellent credit, were suddenly limited by their actual earnings. Declines happened. Calls from the school intensified. I got a polite but pointed letter from Westfield Academy. Dear Mrs. Harrison, they had noticed I was the consistent payer of the children's tuition. They wanted to kindly remind you that there was an outstanding balance for the current semester. I called them. Mrs. Harrison, we have a remaining balance of $3,000. The Becks told us you usually handle it. I used to, but that arrangement has ended. Any future payments should be arranged with their parents directly. I won't be paying. There was a brief pause. Well, in that case, if it's not resolved within 2 weeks, the children will need to transfer to public school. I understand. That'll be a matter between you and their parents. And for the first time, I put the responsibility where it belonged, with them. About a month after Easter, Linda showed up at my door. No warning, no text. She looked exhausted, hair messy, dark circles under her eyes. Mom, please, we need to talk. I opened the door and stepped aside. She came in, but I didn't rush to offer coffee or a seat. I simply stood there. The kids have to leave Westfield, she said. We can't make the mortgage payment this month. Marcus is picking up extra jobs, but it's not enough. I got a job at the mall, but we're drowning. We can't live like this. You mean you can't live like you used to, on my money? Tears spilled over. We said awful things, I know. We were stressed, scared. It was a stupid conversation, but you can't just dismantle everything. I didn't dismantle it. I just stopped holding it up. We're your family, she insisted. Isn't that what family does? Helps each other? Yes, family helps. Family also includes, respects, listens. You didn't do those parts. You wanted my help, not my presence. That's not true, she whispered. Really? When's the last time you invited me somewhere that didn't involve me paying for something? When's the last time you called just to ask how I was, without following up with, by the way, could we? She sat down heavily at the table. The kids will lose the house, Mom. Do you understand that? I do, and I also understand I own 60% of it. She looked up sharply. You wouldn't take our house, she said. I wouldn't take it, I replied, but if you default, I will exercise my legal rights as majority owner to force its sale. Where would we live? She whispered. Somewhere you can afford on your own income, I said gently. It's what most people do. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger, but I wasn't a stranger. This was the same woman who'd enforced rules and consequences for thousands of children. Family or not, the principle was the same. Behavior has consequences. 2 months after Easter, I got another call from James. They've missed 2 mortgage payments, he said. You're now legally able to demand the property be sold to protect your investment. What would that look like? I asked. The house goes on the market, he said. After paying off the remaining mortgage, the proceeds get split according to equity. You'd get 60%, they'd get 40%. Will that be enough to help them get another place? Yes, something smaller likely, maybe a modest home or a condo, but yes, it should keep them from total ruin. It just won't be the lifestyle they're used to. Linda called again when she realized the gravity of it. Mom, please, don't take our house, she begged. We'll apologize. We'll invite you to everything. We'll add you back into the group chat. Just don't do this. I'm not taking your house, I said calmly. I'm enforcing an agreement we all signed.
The house is not your gift. It's jointly owned property. I am simply refusing to subsidize your refusal to respect me. We'll change, she said desperately. We'll do better. Linda, I don't want forced invitations or apologies you only say to keep the money flowing. I want genuine respect, and I don't believe I'll get that from you. She cried. I didn't waver. 3 months after Easter, the house was sold. They moved into a much smaller place in a less prestigious area. Marcus picked up a second job delivering food in the evenings. Linda worked full-time at the department store. The kids transferred to public school. They were for the first time in years living on their own income. No more secret ATM, no more invisible exploited grandmother, just their reality and mine. Here's the unexpected part. When I stopped pouring all my energy and money into people who didn't value it, my life didn't shrink. It expanded. The universe, as they say, abhors a vacuum.
The space I cleared out of dragging, one-sided relationships began to fill with new, healthier ones. My book club grew from a chore to a joy. The ladies in that group started inviting me to monthly dinners. They wanted to hear my thoughts about novels, education, and life. The literacy program, helping adults in immigrant families learn to read, became one of the most fulfilling things I'd ever done. Those students arrived hungry to learn, grateful for every bit of help. They thanked me after every session. One mother hugged me and said, "Because of you, I can finally read my son's school notes." It hit me. These people treated my time and knowledge as a gift, not an obligation. My neighbor Rose and I started going on day trips, art museums, historic sites, little restaurants we'd never tried. I wasn't somebody's emergency bank anymore. I was just Ellie, a woman with stories and opinions and interests. And then in October, I took that Rhine River cruise. 2 weeks, Germany, Austria, castles and vineyards and small cobblestone streets, great food, live music in the evenings, new friends from all over the world. One afternoon, at a stunning old castle overlooking the river, I walked to a quiet spot with a small container in my hand. I sprinkled some of Robert's ashes in the breeze. "See it, love?" I whispered. "We made it here after all." For the first time since his passing, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the fake kind you buy by avoiding conflict. Real peace. The kind that comes from knowing you've reclaimed your life. Some of my fellow travelers invited me to join them for another trip the following spring, a cultural tour of Ireland. I said yes, not, "Let me check if I need to send money to my daughter first." Just yes. 6 months after Easter, I updated my will. Instead of leaving everything to Linda's family, I set up scholarships for underprivileged children to attend private schools. I allocated funds for literacy programs and educational grants. I decided that if my money was going to outlive me, it should go toward people who genuinely valued opportunity and education, not kids who rolled their eyes at the grandmother paying their tuition and couldn't be bothered to say thank you. 8 months after Easter, on my birthday, something unexpected arrived in the mail. A card from Linda. Just a simple one. Inside, she wrote, "Mom, I got promoted to assistant manager at the store. Working has been hard, but I'm proud of myself. We're still struggling, but it feels good to know we're doing it on our own. Thank you for forcing me to grow up. I didn't understand what I'd become. Linda." It wasn't a full apology. It didn't fix everything. It didn't magically rebuild years of imbalance and disrespect. But it was something. A flicker of self-awareness. Proof that sometimes consequences don't destroy people, they grow them. I'm 71 now. I spend my mornings walking, my afternoons volunteering or reading, and my evenings chatting with new friends or planning my next trip. My life isn't perfect. I still miss Robert every day. I still sometimes ache when I think about how my relationship with Linda changed. I still wish my grandkids had chosen gratitude over entitlement, but I no longer feel trapped. My money is mine. My time is mine. My energy is mine.
I give it where it is welcomed, appreciated, and reciprocated, not where it's expected and resented. They wanted Easter without me so they could have peace. In the end, I gave them what they asked for, a life without my drama. And I gave myself something in return, a life without their entitlement. They got exactly what they wanted, and so did I. That's my story. Now I want to hear yours. Have you ever realized your generosity was being treated like an obligation, especially by family? Have you ever felt like you had to buy your place at the table? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to hear more stories like mine, don't forget to subscribe.